This is a sound test for planning committee, which will start at 10 a.m.
we okay? Yep. That's not switched on, James. I don't know if that can go on. Good morning, everyone. My name is Councillor Smart, and I am the chair of this committee. I'd like to welcome you all to Cambridge City Council's Planning Committee meeting taking place at 10 a.m. on Wednesday, the 1st of October. So councillors can introduce themselves, starting on my right.
Councillor Robert Dryden, Cherry Hinton Ward.
Councillor Bob Illingworth, East Chesterton Ward.
Councillor Tim Griffin, Coleridge Ward.
Councillor Katie Thornborough, Petersfield Ward.
Councillor Naomi Bennett, Abbey Ward.
And Ingrid's just coming round, so I'll give you time, Ingrid.
Councillor Flaubert, Trumpington.
Thank you, everyone. So apologies received from, we've had, go Naomi.
Councillor Matthew Howard apologises for not being here because of sickness and sends me as his alternate.
Thank you very much. So we've got 7. Are we missing one, Jane?
I think we're all here, Chair.
Yep, so I think we'll... Anyway, just checking with the officer there where we are quorate, of course, but I think we're down 1 in terms of members of the council elected to this committee. Normally should have 8, but we have 7 today. That's fine. Excuse me. Right. So, as Councillor Bajan is no longer the vice chair, as we won't be able to elect the vice chair until full council, we need to elect a vice chair for this committee because in case of anything, any issues coming up in any of the items that need to come back to chair, vice chair and spokes, we need a vice chair. So can I ask for someone to propose a vice chair, please? Councillor Bennett.
Thank you, Chair. I would like to propose Councillor Katie Thornborough as vice chair. Thank you.
Thank you. And a second there? Councillor Griffin. Yep, okay. So all those in favour of Councillor Thornborough being vice chair? Thank you very much. That's unanimous. Thank you. So the officers present at the table for this meeting are Area Manager Jane Rodens, Legal Advisor Richard Pitt, Committee Manager James Goddard and Producer Sarah Michael. Other officers and public speakers will join us throughout the course of the meeting and I will introduce them at the start of relevant agenda items. Housekeeping, if anyone has any problems hearing me throughout the meeting, please alert me by waving their hands or advising a council officer. We aim to take a 45-minute lunch break between noon and 2 p.m. And by the way, the clock still isn't working, so there's no point looking at that. Please can those present in the council chamber note that everything on your desk could be broadcast at some point as cameras within the room follow the microphone being switched on. If you're following the Teams meeting here in the room on your laptop, your audio, microphone and camera must be switched off. If the fire alarm sounds, please follow officers who will leave the room and exit the building via the P-sill staircase and exit, do not use the lift. Please can those participating in the meeting via the live stream indicate that you wish to speak via the chat column or raised hand option. Switch off your microphone and camera unless you are invited to speak. Please note if a report officer drops out from the committee due to poor broadband signal, the senior officer present will take over their presentation and respond to questions. The process for each planning application will be the case officer will give a brief introduction to his or her report, questions of clarification from members to officers, registered public speakers will be invited to have their say. There will be 3 minutes for those speaking in support and 3 minutes for those speaking against, unless I've advised otherwise. The committee manager will ring a bell when you have 30 seconds remaining. Once public speakers have addressed the committee, their speaking time is over. Public speakers are unable to join in with the councillor debate. The committee will then discuss and debate the item and may ask questions of the case officer. At the end of the deliberation, I will ask the planning delivery manager to summarise the officer recommendation, which will pick up any amendments during the debate. I will then ask members to vote on the officer's recommendation by a show of hands. Only those present in the chamber can vote or propose or second recommendations. For the comfort of councillors, officers and the public, I may choose to call short breaks during the proceedings. If councillors or officers require a break at any point, please indicate to me and I will halt proceedings at the next convenient opportunity. Right. Sorry.
I've just remembered, Chair, Councillor Todd Jones sent apologies. That's why we're 7, not 8 today.
Of course, yeah. Yes, sorry about that, I forgot as well. Right, okay, so going on. Any declarations of interest? No. Okay, thank you very much. So minutes of the last meeting, can I sign those as a true record? Those are the minutes of the 23rd of the 7th, 25. Well, I'm happy with them. Anyone else seen them, happy with them? Is that the right date?
There's 2 sets of minutes, Chair. 5th
sorry.
of June and 23rd of July, please.
Yeah, I read the wrong one off the agenda. So, yep, as James said. I'm going to say yes unless anyone says no. No, everyone's happy. Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Right, first item. We've got 3 minor items today. First item is item 5, 80 to 82 Level Road. Right, let's get the presentation then going then. So let's get that on screen. Right, okay, when you're ready then, thanks. Yeah, okay. Just hold on, Amy, while we get the screen turned around a little bit. You can see it properly.
I'm afraid this is faulty, Chair. We can't.
Yeah, don't worry about it, James. Okay, we're ready.
Thank you, Chair. The application in front of members today is at 80 to 82 Level Road, Cambridge. It is for the erection of one self-build dwelling, alterations to an existing access, and alterations to 80 to 82 Level Road. The site itself, I've included the location plan. It's shown in red. Sorry, it appears that screen's not showing what that one is.
I'm afraid the right-hand screen is a fault. It sometimes shows the same as that
Okay.
side. Sometimes it shows nothing. Sometimes there's a massive delay. So if
That's
people
fine.
would look at that screen, that's the one to watch, please.
Sorry, that's why I paused. I'd looked on and thought it wasn't catching
Okay,
up.
Amy, we'll get that one sorted. Yeah, that's better. Thank you very much, Councillor Thornborough. And start the presentation from the start again.
That's fine.
Thank you.
So, apologies. The application in front of members today is 80 to 82 Level Road in Cambridge. The proposal is for the erection of one self-build dwelling, alterations to an existing access, and alterations to 80 to 82 Level Road. I've shown the application here lined in red. This is the application site. The line shown in blue is other land that's owned by the applicant but does not form part of this application. So the extent of this site for this proposal is the line shown in red. I've also shown an arrow just on Google Maps where this site is located. So the site is located behind the rear of 80 to 82 Level Road. To the northeast of the site, so to the north and east of the site is a grassed area currently being used by the Kia garage, which is down just off of the map here, around here. It's also to the north of the site is the guided busway and the Cambridge Science Park. To the south and west of the site are neighbouring properties and rear gardens of Lovell Road. The site borders an allocated site, just the tip of it is shown here, which is allocated site M1. This site has been allocated for 95 dwellings at 50 density per hectare, or for 0.53 hectares of employment. However, this application falls outside of this land allocation. It should be noted that the allocation site here has not been developed and therefore for either use, just so there's no current built form on site. In terms of site planning history, I've just listed this out here for members for your kind of knowledge. The application that we are dealing with today is the one that is boxed in and green. So just the kind of history of what has been approved and refused on the site previously. So the site plans, the application, as I said before, seeks permission for an erection of a singular self-built dwelling with alterations to the access to lead down to the proposed dwelling. This would involve the removal of oriel windows, which would be the alterations to the two existing dwellings, being 80 to 82. I will have plans later in my presentation that will show this more clearly. So this is where we've got the existing elevations of 80 to 82, where you see these oriel windows here which serve bathrooms. In order to create the access and to allow for larger vehicles to use this access, these oriel windows have been removed. So you can see here, this is what the proposal seeks to do in order to facilitate the access. Just for completeness as well, this will be what the existing floor plans look like. So you can see the oriel windows here in situ serving a family bathroom. And then the removal of such, allowing the access road to be constructed. You see that these bathrooms are made smaller, where a shower will be installed over a bath. The proposed dwelling itself, this is what is being asked for. So we can see that it's a 1.5-storey dwelling. It benefits from a buff brick on the elevations with zinc-cladded kind of material dormer windows and grey casement windows as well. It's quite modern in design, but not something that can't be observed at the front half of Lovell Road. There is a dwelling on the corner of Lovell Road that shows a very, very similar palette, but palettes of this nature just aren't in the immediate context. The floor plans of the dwelling, so the dwelling meets space standards under Policy 50, and it is for a 5-bedroom dwelling. Just kind of what you can see is you've got a standard layout of a study/bedroom down on the ground floor with a lounge, kitchen, diner, and laundry store area with WC. And then upstairs we've got 4 bedrooms with a family bath located behind bedroom 4. And just some cross sections of the site itself. So key issues that I've outlined in my officer's report, one of which is that the proposal is considered to be contrary to Policy 52, that the introduction of backland development is not characterful of Lovell Road, and therefore it is not compliant with 52 in that sense. It's also contrary to Policy 52, 57 and 80 of the Cambridge Local Plan and paragraph 117 of the NPPF, because the proposal fails to demonstrate that there would be no harm to 80 to 82 from pedestrians using this access road. I failed to mention if I go back to the slide, which shows the elevations. So you can see here on the proposed elevations, the front doors of 80 to 82 face directly onto that access road. So essentially where that access road is going, this will be where occupants of 80 to 82 will have to enter and exit their homes. There is no segregation of a pathway on the access road. It will be mixed of pedestrians, cyclists and vehicles. And this is where there is a failure of demonstrating that occupants coming out of these dwellings will not be adversely impacted by that use of that access road. It shall be noted that cycle parking has been shown and indicated for all the dwellings. So the 80 to 82, the cycle parking will be located in the rear gardens. I understand that cycle parking is preferred to the front. However, these two are not new dwellings and that shouldn't be held to the same standards as that. But the new dwelling itself, the proposed self-build, does show cycle parking to the front of this structure, but the current provision does fail to provide the correct number of cycles for the size of the dwelling. However, I consider that this could be dealt with under condition, as I believe that there is enough space on the site to allow for that provision, and therefore I've not included it in my refusal reasons today. So in terms of the planning balance, if the application were to be approved, the key material considerations would be, it would be the provision of one self-build unit, which we do have a need for, which is a positive. In terms of refusal, it would be for the aforementioned reasons that I just mentioned, being that it wouldn't be in keeping with the pattern of development within the area and the character, and that there is a conflict between the access road in terms of existing residential amenity and safety to current occupants.
Thank you, Amy. And your recommendation is?
My recommendation is the refusal on those grounds.
Thank you very much. So we're doing it the new way now, just to remind you, members. So questions of clarification first, just the clarification questions. If any, there may be none. Councillor Bennett.
Could the case officer go over the highways objection for us, please? And particularly the safety aspects?
Hang on, when you say go over it, I mean, is there something you don't understand about it? Because we can cover that when we get to interrogating the item later after the speakers.
I think my issue is how major are the safety problems? I know that Lovell Road is not a main road, but I believe it to be quite a busy road, but I don't really know how busy and how bad it is.
How busy is Lovell Road?
So in terms of highways, the highway objection is, no objection, sorry, highways did not, they've objected initially, but then the applicant was given the opportunities to address those concerns. So the highways have no further objections on what's been proposed. The details are outlined under 6.1 and 6.2 of the officer's report. Essentially, highways do not have any concerns with the interaction of the access road with highways. They won't kind of comment or give advice in terms of roads that they don't own. In terms of Lovell Road's busyness, I would say it's busy, but I wouldn't, like you said, say it was a main road. It's a road in Cambridge, basically coming off of a kind of a central road. I kind of, looking at the report itself, it does kind of assess that of how that would be interacted. So that's why highways haven't raised an objection. But it is more in terms of my recommendation being the interaction between, for me if it's still on that screen, just not on this one, the interaction between occupants and the access road rather than occupants in the highway.
Is that clear now, Councillor Bennett? Yeah. I mean, I can add a bit to that. I'm a ward councillor in King's Hedges. It's a pretty busy road. There's been a lot of talk over the years about having a resident scheme in there, or having WL lines, or having stopping it off at one end or in the middle or both ends, or well, not both ends, but you know, lots of stuff to do with trying to mitigate, and it's very difficult to get that achieved to still use the road effectively. And because people park on the road, it tends to slow traffic down, so that helps a bit because they have to weave round the traffic then that's parked there. But it's a lot of parking, it's a cut through, yeah, and learner drivers as well, very popular around that area. So there's all sorts of stuff going on, which means that that road is busy, I would say, most of the time, certainly daytime, yeah. Okay, any more questions for clarification? No? Okay. Oh, sorry, Councillor Dryden.
Well, the applicants cite 3 areas where they've got similar applications. I know you can't go into details of the other applications, but one of them I do know where there's 8 large houses where it's very similar. And I just wondered, is these applications where they are got through, is it because we recommend a refusal when we've voted for it, because sometimes they've got through because we've seen and we've decided as a committee that they, you know, it is okay. But the three was actually mentioned, I recommend a refusal, but didn't. I know one of them very well actually, which is eight large houses and a very narrow road to it. So, just want any comments on that?
Amy?
So, yes, the applications that were highlighted to myself by the applicant being listed under paragraph 9.11 of my report. So they have been approved because they wouldn't be listed otherwise. In terms of application of policies, all applications are different. All these different sites have different elements to them which wouldn't have raised concerns. I think primarily it is the access road. So one of them, for example, number 14 King's Hedges Road, that application site it's got cycle and pedestrian access, but it hasn't got vehicular access, and there's no front doors that face onto that proposed access. So the application of policy 52 is different in that sense, where it doesn't contravene kind of amenity safety. I do understand in terms of pattern of development, there is specific, I'm just focusing on this one, I guess, as well, with the one at the end of Level Road being the 8 dwellings. Or sorry, that's in Edith's Way, but I can go back to that one. But the character element of it as well, we have to take into consideration the immediate context. These dwellings are kind of focused towards the latter parts of the road where there is belt form to the rear, and there is other dwellings that have been approved on kind of corner plots that aren't necessarily accessed from the same points of the road, and the accesses are all different. So essentially, although there is kind of listed here of how policy 52 has been applied, it does really vary from context to context, application to application.
Yep, go ahead, Councillor.
The only reason I asked that because the one I was looking at was the Queen Edith's Way one, which Queen Edith's Way is a very busy road. So there's eight houses there, large houses, and you're coming out on a very narrow road similar, where it's actually the path on it, it's a cycle path as well as a pedestrian path. And I thought if there's any health and safety on vehicles or coming out there, I think there's a lot less on this one than there was on that one. That's what I'm just trying to get the balance here.
All right, thanks, Councillor. Okay, so that's questions of clarification, and thanks, Amy. We do have speakers. We've got Lee, objector. We've got written statements as well from Elizabeth, and Ed is speaking on behalf of the applicant, I presume, agent, and then we've got Councillor Gawthorpe-Wood. So should we have... Oh, we're not reading out statements anymore, are we? So, Lee, do you want to speak then, please? Are you here today or online?
Yeah, thank you. Good morning. My name is Lee Wood, and I live on Lovell Road.
Hang on a minute. Let me just... So, Ed joins the agent, so he speaks afterwards. Yeah. Sorry, Lee. You start again. You get 3 minutes.
Yeah, I live on Lovell Road. My wife and I, along with many of our neighbours, who have also submitted objections, strongly urge you to refuse this application. The objection is based on 3 critical planning considerations: highway safety, the character of the area, and the harmful precedent it would set. Firstly, on highway safety, the proposed access is dangerously narrow and substandard. Our 1930s road already struggles with significant congestion from on-street parking, effectively making it a single-lane road for two-way traffic. A new concealed access point between 2 houses creates an unacceptable risk for both pedestrians and drivers, not to mention the people stepping out of the side entrances, especially if they're children and unaware of vehicles coming from the back. Secondly, this proposal is a classic example of inappropriate backland development. The established character of our road is defined by houses fronting the street with generous private gardens to the rear. This development fundamentally breaks that pattern. It is entirely out of keeping with the area's design and would be a jarring intrusion, eroding the very quality of life that defines our neighbourhood. And I've lived there for 40 years. Finally, and perhaps most importantly, approving this would set a dangerous precedent. If this application is allowed, it signals an open invitation for more garden grabbing along our road, destroying its unique character, one plot at a time. This isn't about stopping development, it's about ensuring development is appropriate. This proposal fails that test. It is the wrong house in the wrong place. We ask that you listen to the residents and refuse the application. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Lee. Right, so the agent, Ed. Hello, Ed. Good morning.
Quick question. The applicant did submit a PowerPoint or a slide that they'd like me to show while they speak. I've reviewed the slide and I don't consider that any new information is being introduced, but I just wanted to check with yourself if you're happy for me to do that first.
So just to be clear, the information that's going to be shown is in the public domain. Yeah, so, okay, go ahead then, thanks. Okay, Ed, you've got 3 minutes to speak. You press the button on your right-hand side of the thing and it will light up. Are you ready to show whatever needs to be shown? You've got it, okay, great, okay. Okay, Ed.
Thank you. The government has committed to delivering 1.5 million new homes during this Parliament. To achieve this, every opportunity must be taken to deliver new homes in sustainable locations. A key strand to this housing delivery is through the councils meeting their statutory duty to deliver self-build plots. The applicants have been on the council's self-build register for over 5 years. In this time, they, like hundreds of other people on the register, have witnessed a chronic undersupply of self-build sites coming forward. Therefore, the applicants acquired the Lovell Road site, which presently accommodates a large commercial greenhouse to build a highly sustainable home for their young family. This proposal does not require the shortening of existing gardens. Even if it did, the gardens of 80 and 82 would still be the same length as those for properties further east on Lovell Road, as the plan shows. The commercial greenhouse was erected in the 1970s. Any impact upon the character by the subdivision of plots happened at that time. Whilst the greenhouse is not a dwelling to the rear of other
Just go back like 20 seconds and start from that bit.
Yeah,
and we'll add on
I've
a bit.
got both lights up. Is that? Yeah, it's on. I can hear it okay now. Yeah. So the proposal does not require the shortening of existing gardens, as the plan shows. Even if it did, the gardens of 80 and 82 would still be the same length as those of properties further east on Lovell Road. The commercial greenhouse was erected in the 1970s. Any impact upon the character of the subdivision of plots happened at that time. Whilst the greenhouse is not a dwelling to the rear of the other properties, there are numerous examples of other large outbuildings to the rear of properties on Lovell Road. There is also the EMG garage that is in line with the proposed dwelling, which is on a site allocated for residential development, an allocation that will inevitably change the character of the area. To the east, there is an example of in-depth development to the rear of 2 Lovell Road. Nearby, there are also examples of in-depth residential development, including the sites at 8 and 14 Kings Hedges Road that were recently approved by this council. It appears that in-depth development on Kings Hedges Road is acceptable, even though officers acknowledge that there are limited examples of subdivision in that area. Impact upon character is a subjective judgment, and one that I urge members to take a view on. All planning decisions change the character of areas. The question is, why is it more important to protect the character of Lovell Road and not the character of other areas like Kings Hedges Road? Especially when considering the government's aim to boost the delivery of new homes and the chronic undersupply of self-build plots in the city. These are both matters that would certainly carry weight at appeal. This is not an application for the subdivision of gardens in an area of the city where garden lengths are important to maintaining historic character. This is the reuse of a previously developed site in a demonstrably sustainable location to deliver a self-built dwelling for the applicants and their young family. The concern about residents using a shared surface is contrary to the response from the local highway authority, who support the application, and the front doors to the properties could both be relocated and controlled by a planning condition if necessary. Is that my time?
That's it, Ed? Yeah.
Apologies.
All right. Did you add on a bit for the break-ins.
I did add another 20 seconds for
Did you? Okay, that went quicker than I
Right.
thought.
Thanks very much.
Thank you.
Thank you. So next up is Councillor Goldthorpe Wood, Ward Councillor.
Right, good morning, Planning Committee. So I have had a lot of emails with objections from residents, and I'm here to represent them. Now, first, my comments focus on loss of amenity, access, amenity for the existing dwellings, the cycle storage, overlooking light and biodiversity. So although Lovell Road is a fully built road, it's a narrow suburban road comprising semi-detached 3-bedroom houses built in the 1920s and 30s. Now, many do have rear extensions or conservatories, as is the case here, or even garages. But there is a history of developers trying to develop inappropriately the backland on this property using the rear gardens. There seems to be some degradation already, with plants and trees being cut down in the back garden of 80 to 82. And I have to say, a greenhouse is not a house. And of course, that's on a neighbouring property. So these are on the north side of Lovell Road. They're backed by the busway, part of the science park, as Amy has said, and part of Vindis garages. But the key thing is this development would substantially alter the character of the neighbourhood and compromises the local plan by developing backland and putting roads within back gardens. It's a real slippery slope, this. So on access, now I can attest to the existing issues with the narrowness of the road, where there's parking on both sides, residents parking. It's a narrow suburban road with parking pressure. As I said, it already has problems. Residents report it's used as a rat run, and I can attest to that. There's already much support and an application in for residents' parking. So there's little space for larger vehicles or more vehicles which already have difficulties driving through the road. That would be very problematic during the new build and afterwards. It would just increase the intensity. It's much narrower than Queen Edith's Way. Similarly, the driveway between the existing properties is narrow, and extending the entranceway will lead to loss of some of the existing front garden amenity for 80 to 82, and there could be loss of biodiversity. Although I understand, though, that they are used as hard standing at the moment for cars, and this would make it more awkward for the cars to park. The current houses have their main exit doors facing onto the new access road to the proposed dwelling in the back gardens. So there is a safety issue if this becomes the through route for vehicles to the proposed dwelling, and it's a 5-bedroom dwelling. I would be concerned about delivery vans and hire vehicles trying to drive between 80 to 82 Lovell Road and also due to the overhanging oriels on the first floor of each house. It's not clear how easily or how safely the existing occupants will be able to park cars and bikes in future at the front of their houses. Bike storage is not shown at the front for 80 to 82, with up to 10 people in the new property, proposed new property. Cars parking and bike storage is a big concern. How easily will emergency vehicles be able to access the new dwelling, given the 3.1 metre access road that's proposed between the existing dwellings? So you've got to turn quite hard to get in, and if there's parking on the road, it's going to be very difficult. So amenity for existing dwellings, as well as the impact on the neighbourhood, 80 and 82 lose some two-thirds of their rear gardens to the new dwelling, and it's hard standing. 82, it seems from the plans, may have already lost, but will lose their rear garden and shed. Both will have some of their front gardens lost to the access road to the rear. I'm also concerned about noise, with up to 10 people in the new property and with a much reduced garden size. So to enable access to the proposed dwelling, will the all-real windows to 80 to 82 need to be removed? It sounds as though they will. Now that alters the character of the neighbourhood. It also very significantly reduces the bathroom size for the existing 3 double-bedroom houses and will change the character and design of the area. Sorry, I've repeated myself there. It's not clear, for cycle storage, it's not clear that the proposed cycle storage for the existing and new dwellings is sufficient, particularly where people may be having cargo bikes, which is highly likely if this is meant to be for a young family, but we've no idea who will be in the new proposed dwelling or in future in the existing dwellings. Now, overlooking and light. Now, I appreciate these are long gardens, but no light survey is being carried out as far as I'm aware, and I'm concerned for the existing dwellings. The new dwelling has large windows which will most likely overlook the adjacent gardens of 78, 80, 82 and 84. What lighting will there be at night? On biodiversity, although this could be secured by condition, I'm concerned that the build and some preliminary work carried out will and has already substantially lowered the biodiversity and amenity. Neighbours have reported evidence of badgers, and that's highly likely. Lovell Road Gardens do currently provide a good biodiversity corridor in the area, particularly as Orchard Park and Cambridge Regional College has been built, and there is further development on the Science Park. I gather there's a hornbeam in number 78, which I'm a bit concerned about the future health of. So those are a summary of my comments. I could speak for longer, but I better not. Thank you.
All right, thanks, Councillor. Okay, open to questions then, members. Who's first? Councillor Thornborough.
I think I am concerned about the impact on the 2 existing buildings, and as the case officers raised about the width of the access going through next to the existing door and front doors of this, and I think that the points have been raised. It may not be just the cars to the new dwelling. We do have to take on board that there could be a lot more of delivery vans as we get, so that they may pull up on the road and walk down. But another point I wondered if it's being considered is the wheelie bins, how refuse would be dealt with. I think their bins are designed for storage near the property, but who will be taking the bins? Will the bins be brought out to the road by the new residents of the new dwellings, or how would that be dealt with? And the ward councillor raised the point about light pollution. I think we do have a policy about that, and I wondered whether we should give weight to that. So it's the bins, and they're quite noisy taking the bins past the front doors of these houses, and the possible light pollution. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor. Any more? Yes, Councillor Illingworth.
Yes, could I just ask if overlooking neighbours' gardens is a planning issue and one we should take into account, or should we not?
All right, thanks, Councillor. Just to say that this part, you're telling him anyway, okay. Right, back to you then, Amy.
Yep, so the first question being the wheelie bins. So if I go back to this drawing, we'll have it actually. Sorry, excuse me. The bin storage for the self-build dwelling is here. I don't know if you can see it, just by that tree, just outside. If I go to the other one, it might be a bit more zoomed in. It's not. But you can see it here. So we've got the bins stored back on 82 here, and just along the access road will be where the bins, my cursor's probably big, but will be where the bins are stored for the self-build. So in line with recap, there's a distance which it does comply with, where the bins will have to be, there's a certain distance that bins can be stored from the house. And then in addition to that, there's a certain distance where bins can be dragged from the store to the collection point, which is where the bins, from my reading of the application, will be dragged from the store to the collection point being the roadside. So I don't envisage refuse vehicles going down here, but that's the bin situation. In terms of light pollution, I think because of the surrounding area being, you've got residential to the front and then you've got the science park to the back, as well as the garage to the kind of the side, I wouldn't consider that light pollution would be an adverse impact here, given just the kind of built form that is around and the lights associated with those built forms that are kind of present. So that wouldn't be something that I would have thought that would be an issue. Then overlooking, so the building itself in terms of the dwelling is 1.5, sorry, is 1.5 metres in height. And in terms of distances, I do have them. I didn't consider that there would be overlooking. It is a planning matter, but I didn't consider that the dwelling was high enough to be overlooking into neighbouring gardens. So we've got, fair enough with this one here, it is closer, it's about 1.2 metres, being the latter part of this dwelling here, their garden. But I wouldn't have considered that it would be adverse, in that these residential settings, you do expect a level of overlooking, and given the scale and massing of the dwelling and the distances between garden spaces and actual dwellings themselves, I didn't consider that the overlooking would be to a degree that it would be within the refusal reasons. But it is a planning matter.
Okay, thank you very much. Councillor
Sorry, can I
Ainsworth, do you
just-
want to come back?
Yes, please. You said, I thought I heard you say the building was 1.5 metres. That can't be right. So what is 1.5 metres?
Sorry, the dwelling is 1.5 stories. The distance between the dwelling and the latter part of this building would probably be roughly about 1.5 metres. Yep.
Thank you.
Councillor Bennett.
Hi, this is just a quick point of clarification. On many occasions, I've heard our chair say that we cannot redesign the application on the table. So I'd just like to reference the applicant's agent's comments about moving front doors. Are we allowed to take that into account as a possibility? And if so, what weight can we put on it? Is it actually something that can be conditioned, or do we simply have to make the decision on the application as it stands at the moment?
Okay, let me ask a couple of questions and related to that as well then. So if you put the reasons for refusal back up there as well, please, Amy. So on that, I mean, that was your second reason, and it's quite reasonable really, because it's quite a tight space between the two buildings. And what is that gap, by the way? In the objector's statement from Elizabeth, it says the gap between the two houses is very narrow. So what is that width in metres? Also, just to be clear, the local councillor said that there could be up to 10 people living in the property. So can you confirm that to be the case? And so just on that matter, because I was going to ask about that as well, I mean, you talked about the internal layout of the building in terms of the smaller bathroom, so having a shower instead of a bath to make that work on the projecting bays at first floor level. If we're going to talk about the internal layout in that respect, should we, as Councillor Bennett said, be talking about the internal layout in terms of the access to the building, so the front door, which their front doors are currently on the side of the buildings. It potentially, by the look of it, could be moved to the front. but that's not on the table here today. We're not looking at that. Nobody's said that is the what's in the application. And what we want to be clear about is if we're supporting the officer recommendation is why we're supporting it and what we're concerned about. So if we're concerned about that, but that changes, then that falls away, obviously, as a concern. So you need to be clear on that. But there are other concerns as well, vis-a-vis, especially your first material consideration there, I think, in the list. So it'll be helpful to get a response directly to what Councillor Bennett said, but also maybe the extra bit that I've added.
So in terms of the front door, so yes, the applicant could move the front door, but as you've rightfully said, this isn't the application that we have in front of us today. In terms of, I guess, condition, because the drawings will have to be listed under condition 2, so that would be what the drawings that would have to be kind of done. And although there are alterations to 80 to 82, it wasn't an alteration that's been put forward under this application. So it's not something that kind of we considered in this instance. In terms of the beds, so that was, oh, sorry, one moment. The proposed dwelling floor plans. So where 10 people have come from is that there's 10 bed spaces. So the dwelling could sleep up to 10 people. So theoretically 10 people could be here. But it's a 5-bed dwelling. So that would be essentially the capacity of the house. And then I believe your other question was the internal layout of the oriel windows. Correct me if I'm wrong, Chair.
What did you say?
Your other question was about the oriel windows, was it?
No, I didn't say anything about them. I was just
Okay, that's
interested in what the actual width was in metres between, and maybe any guidance you can give in terms of how that width relates to vehicular access.
Yeah. So the width itself here at the front is 3.1, which Highway say is normal of a single dwelling, access serving a single dwelling. In between the houses, it's 4.1, but that's including the bits beside the access. So that's going from wall to wall. That isn't just the access itself. So in terms of serving an access, serving a single dwelling, 3.1 by highway standards is considered acceptable, but it's the additional bits either side of the access which has been included within the internals.
Did you want to come back, Councillor Bennett, on any of that? I know I do, but you first.
I think I'll let you go first, Chair.
Okay, well, that's very kind. So all I'd say is that, what would I say? There's if this was well, firstly, it's going to alter the character and appearance of the street. I'm not aware of any other houses in that street that have the front door on the front. I can't think of any, but I've walked up and down a lot on that street. There might be one, I might be wrong, but there certainly aren't a lot, if there are any. The second thing is that it's not just about the front door, is it? And not having on the side. It's about access. So if there's vehicular access, that means that it's all mixed up. People, bicycles, they're all going the same way. If you're going to the back of your house, one of the two houses at the front, you're potentially walking along the same route as a vehicle might be coming along at the same time, and that's not particularly good, it seems to me, to be planning for. Plus bicycles, plus any bins left hanging around, there could be conflict there. If someone leaves their bins and you can't get your car down, that's going to be aggro. So I can see reasoning why it's not just about where the front door is, but the front door is certainly a major issue, I'd say, in terms of getting through to that back bit. But Councillor Bennett, do you want to say something, and then Councillor Thornborough?
I think the only issue is that, as far as I'm concerned, you've confirmed that we have to look at the application on the table, and that alone.
Yeah, fair enough. Councillor Thornborough?
Yeah, I think the reasons that the officer's given for refusal, I think the policy 52, which is regarding garden land being developed, and there's a specific requirement that there needs to be sufficient space around the existing dwellings and also the privacy of the existing dwellings, the existing privacy that they have needs to be considered. So I think I give, there is in the planning balance, there is absolutely, we have a housing crisis in Cambridge and we need more homes, but I feel that the weight of the reasons to refuse the application outweigh the benefit. So I particularly give great weight to policy 52 and 57 and feel that it's detrimental to the existing buildings. I'm concerned about there may be cars parked in front of 82 and 80 that also need to use that driveway. But yeah, that's how I feel in the balance of consideration here.
Thanks, Councillor. Yeah, I think the first objector put it very well, actually, in terms of what's wrong with this application. Can you put the slide up that shows your planning balance again? So, yeah, so on that one, it's got 3 reasons for refusal, but online there are 2. So is there anything to be clarified there? Thanks.
Yes, apologies, let me just clarify that. So on the plans pack given to members, there was on the balance, the cycle storage was included as a reason for refusal. But upon further reflection, I considered that could be addressed under condition because of the amount of space on the site, and that it is something that can be secured. So that's why I felt that reason wouldn't be strong.
Okay, if there's no more questions, I concur with Councillor Thornborough in terms of the reasons for refusal given by the case officer in this particular case. So if that's the case, no more questions, we'll go to the vote. So, Jane, recommendation.
Thank you. So as per page 44 of your report, paragraph 21.1, the recommendation is refusal. Thank you.
All those in favour of the officer's recommendation of refusal?
Six support the recommendation.
Against?
1 against.
Okay, no abstentions, that's all of us. So in that case, the officer's recommendation is supported, the item is refused, planning permission. Thank you very much. Do you need a quick break now, or should we go? Yes, let's have 5 minutes or so then. So it's 11 o'clock, just before. Let's come back at 5 minutes past 11 then, if that's enough for a quick break. I didn't I? Sorry. Do you want to put us? Welcome back after a short break. Next item is item 5, Histon Road. Aaron, if you want to present the item, please.
Thank you, Chair, and good morning, members. The application site is land at 137 to 143 Histon Road, which is located within the Arbury ward. The proposed development relates to the full planning application, which was granted permission in March this year for 70 homes, 40% being affordable. The site is currently under construction. This application proposes the conversion of the consented plot number 42 to a sales and marketing suite for a temporary period, and associated works including access, landscaping and parking. This application is only being heard at Planning Committee today as it relates to land owned by Cambridge City Council and is being developed by the Cambridge Investment Partnership. This slide shows the site location plan, and the sales and marketing suite is proposed to be located within plot 42, which is on the eastern side of the development, and vehicular access will be provided from Histon Road. This slide shows the proposed temporary elevations of the building. There are no objections to raise in relation to the size or overall appearance of the building. The additional glazing proposed at the ground floor on the north elevation is considered acceptable, and the materials are also considered acceptable. Officers have compared the approved elevations of plot number 42 and the external alterations involved in converting the building. They're considered very minor and supported by officers. This slide shows the proposed temporary floor plans for the sales and marketing suite, which includes a reception area, various meeting rooms and a wheelchair accessible toilet, and also a small kitchen space. Soft landscaping is proposed to the east and south of the marketing suite, which helps to soften the appearance of the building. The scheme also includes visitor cycle parking spaces for 6 cycles, which will be located close to the entrance to the building, and also 3 car parking spaces and 1 disabled car parking space. Officers consider the number of spaces to be acceptable for this temporary period and in connection with the marketing suite use. So the proposed temporary use of plot number 42 is considered acceptable, and the repurposing of an approved structure to a marketing suite for a temporary period is supported. This approach to reusing an approved building is a sustainable approach to development. The design and scale of the temporary use is in accordance with policy, and there are no technical objections to the scheme. Thank you, Chair. Approval is recommended, subject to conditions.
Thank you, Aaron. Any questions of clarification? Councillor Dryden?
Chair, just wondered, like all big sites like this, usually, we know that they need this office, like plenty of sites I know around Cambridge at the moment, but normally they apply for this in the application. They know they're going to need it. Why do they wait till now before they get asked?
I asked the same question earlier on, actually, but anyway, any more questions for Aaron? Aaron?
It's a decision that Hello, there we go. So it's a decision for the applicant team to make. It is something that I've suggested to the applicants to start including in their submissions, because obviously there's a number of these coming forward in a short space of time. It's possibly due to not knowing which plot they want to use as the marketing suite at the time of the submission, but it's something they need to consider, I think, to prevent every application to come through committee. Thank you.
Any more? Well, that was questions for clarification. Any more questions, debate generally? It's pretty straightforward, isn't it, I guess? So in that case, we'll go to the recommendation. Please, Jane.
Thank you, Chair. The recommendation, as page 53 of your report, paragraph 16, is for approval. Thank you.
Okay, all those in favour of that recommendation?
That is unanimous, Chair.
Okay, the item is approved. Thank you very much. Thank you, Aaron. So if we go on to the next item then straight away, the last item of the day, which is 4 to 6 Short Street. Helen Newman is the reporting officer. Is she in the room?
I think that's next page.
Yep. Right. When you're ready then, Helen, let's give you a chance to set up. As I said, there's no speakers on this item.